That is Zach Jackson. We're going to pivot back to some Guardians here after a quick word.
All right, guys.
Living
We'll
for
see you
We.
soon.
Gun violence is an epidemic. It is the leading cause of death for teenagers. On this season of Living for We, we're asking what can be done to end cycles of violence in cities like Cleveland, where shooters value their reputations over their own lives and see innocent bystanders as collateral damage. Living for We is more than a podcast. It's a resource for communities tired of chaos and ready to build peace. Living for We tells the real stories from those most impacted by the gun violence and gives you changes and solutions from the biggest players in the communities. That's the families, the parents, and the victims. The mission is simple. Empower communities to create safer neighborhoods free from gun violence by highlighting the local heroes, connecting resources and solutions, and building bridges through honest, community-driven dialogue. New episodes come up every Tuesday, so make sure you check out this week for a brand new episode of Living for We. And you can find this award-winning show wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch the full episodes just by searching for Living for We on YouTube. All right, guys, we talked Guardians and Emmanuel Clase. We did not talk about Kyle Manzardo's absurd weekend in Pittsburgh. He set one into Allegheny. He had 2 homers over the weekend. He's up to 6 on the season, and that 6 is one of the league leaders. Jay, did you anticipate Kyle Manzardo being this good?
I did.
This powerful, this early in his pro career?
I did. We do every year upstairs. We do our poll. We do anybody in the newsroom can participate, and we pick everything from breakout player of the year to MVP, best pitcher. We pick number of wins, position, playoffs, how far they'll go, the whole thing. The easiest one for me this year was breakout player because I asked. I can count Kyle Manzardo. Well, absolutely. He hasn't broken out yet. And I said, he's my breakout player, and it really wasn't even close for me. I did think about Rocchio a little bit. I'm glad I'm glad it was just a little bit. I expect Manzardo to hit 25 to 30 home runs this year, and I'm not saying it because he's got 6 now. I said that when I picked him to be the breakout player of the year. I loved it. It was the battle of the mustache. That home run, if you go back and you look at the pitch, like you got one of baseball's best young pitchers, and that ball was absolutely punished.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminded me of Barry Bonds when he used to put him into the San Francisco Bay.
It was such a no doubt. Like, Manzardo's not a guy who's going to show anybody up.
Yeah. But his bat toss was, he knew.
He knew.
Yeah, he knew when the ball was still touching the bat, he knew. Because you usually do when you make that kind of contact. It was fun to watch. It was a thing of beauty. I think he's going to have a tremendous season. I also want to take this opportunity to say I dumped all over the trade for Manzardo. All over it.
I was actually going to bring that up.
I dumped
Not
all
that you
over it.
were, but just in general, I know there was a lot of heat.
I hated it because we were waving the white flag.
Yeah.
And I also, by the way, I think that, along with some other things, had something to do with Tito saying, come on, guys.
Yeah.
You know, I put up with a lot of crap here, but come on. Because it was late in the season. They were, I think, 2 games out of a playoff spot.
They were 2 games out.
And they traded, at the time, their best pitcher.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, has been nothing since then.
I haven't even
so
heard from
the
him.
trade, I couldn't have been more wrong on that trade. I hated it at the time, and the reason I hated it was because I said, I don't know what Manzardo's going to be.
Yeah.
I know he's got a lot of upside in the future, but I'm not passing on an opportunity for October baseball.
So does that mean that they were right moving Naylor then?
Yes.
Well,
because I was mad they moved Naylor, but if they think Manzardo was going to come,
I mean, you got to,
and he was going to be the replacement for that, and they got a pitcher in Ortiz, maybe they was right about that.
Listen, I didn't kill them for that.
I mean, they're right more than they're wrong, usually.
Yeah, I just killed them for the late season. You're within a stone's throw of a playoff spot, and you're giving away your best pitcher. That's a white flag.
That team, to me, wasn't going anywhere.
Maybe not, Jay.
I liked the trade.
Probably not.
The reason I liked the trade was because I said at the time, you could not have made this trade 3 months ago, and you can't make this trade 3 months from now.
That's 100% true.
If you pick up the phone and you call Tampa and you say, we have Aaron Savali, we would like Kyle Manzardo. If you make that call in spring training, they're hanging up the phone and they're changing their
They're
number.
laughing at you.
Yeah. It was the
But the way the season played out.
And it was the only time you could make that trade for that guy. And the thing that's interesting about Manzardo's development to me is he was billed as a guy who had great bat to ball, but he was gap to gap. He was a doubles guy that necessarily the power wasn't there. The power is coming a lot faster than I thought that it would.
Yeah.
at the expense of some of the contact. He's only hitting 200. Now it's early.
Nope, I know.
He's
I don't
easily.
care.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Easily, because they need guys on this team who can hit the ball out of the park.
Yeah.
And by July, he could be hitting 280, and no one's going to be surprised.
Even if he gets to 250, I'm okay with 250.
I'm just saying it's a little surprising to me how fast some of the power has gotten here, because I thought 15 to 18 home runs.
But even last year,
280,
like last year's
285.
playoffs for me told me, no, this guy's absolutely a 30 home run a year guy.
Yeah.
I didn't think that when they brought him up the first time, I just said, yeah, we gave up Aaron Savali for this guy.
Yeah.
Because he was a disaster when they brought him up the first time.
Yeah, he was.
They sent him back.
That's not uncommon.
Not uncommon at all. They sent him back. He found his power stroke. He came back up. He played meaningful games in October and September.
Yeah.
And played his tail off.
Yeah.
And hit some really, really big home runs against pretty good pitchers. And I said at that time, I go, okay, the Savali trade was absolutely worth it, because Savali isn't even in Tampa anymore. And we've got this guy for who knows how long.
It's weird when you watch his swing. He comes off as one of them dudes that even if he's not hitting the ball well, you're like, oh, he should be good. Like you see him just swing the bat, and you're like, oh, he's good. And you might not even know he's hit 200, 250, but he has the stroke that would get you 25. You look at 25, 30 home runs, and if you can get that, listen, I'm cool with it. I will roll with 200.
I think he might have the coolest mustache in the game now too. Skeens is up there, but after the home run, the Skeens mustache is small potatoes.
Goes down a notch.
Yeah, it goes down a notch. And Manzardo's is just very Tom Selleck-esque.
He got
it's perfect.
That Wade Boggs, that Don Mattingly.
Yes, he does. With that still that we showed of him a minute ago, his finish it's a classic left-hander finish.
Yeah.
It's one that you love to see it. And I hope I'm not jinxing him by saying I think he's going to between 25 and 30 this year. Certainly off to that kind of start.
The powers come faster than I thought.
Yeah.
Much faster than I thought that it would.
He's the most. You've talked to him, I'm sure. He's the most unassuming guy.
Yeah, he is.
I remember.
He's from Idaho. What do you want?
A couple of years ago when I was interviewing at spring training, I asked him about. No one's from Idaho. Like, how does that happen? And I said, "Are you the only major leaguer ever from Idaho?" And I think there may have been one or two others.
Yeah.
It's almost like when Rocco Baldelli was drafted in the first round by the Rays.
Wasn't he Rhode Island?
He's from Rhode Island. He was
Yeah.
he's the only player ever drafted from Rhode Island. And I'm like, not surprising to
Yeah.
me. But he's just Idaho.
Hafner, North Dakota, same guy.
Same thing.
I was talking to Kyle.
34 players in the history of baseball have been from Idaho.
Yeah.
There's only one Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I can't remember, but he told me who it was. He knew who it was.
Real quick. And any guesses?
Yeah, it'd be a guess, even though I know it because he told
Harmon
me.
Killebrew.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Yep, that's it. I remember now.
That don't even
Yeah, he
count.
knew that. He knew that Harmon Killebrew was from Idaho.
So it was last year at spring training. I was talking to Kyle about the cold of Cleveland in April and how cold. And I said, you're not going to see Cleveland in April anyway. Like you're going to start the year in the minors. You know that.
Right.
That's how they do it with everybody. And one of the excuses they use is it can be really cold in Cleveland in April. And he's like, man, I grew up in Idaho. Like, I'm used to hitting in the
I
cold.
knew a guy from Idaho, and he was working at a TV station there, and then he got a job in Tampa where I was working. And I used to see in his car, there was literally a cord coming out of the grill. And I'm like, bro, you've got like an extension cord coming out of your car. He goes, no, everybody has that in Idaho. I go, what the hell is it? He goes, it's so cold there, if you're not in a garage, you have to plug in your car at night or the motor block will freeze.
Wow.
And once I heard that, I'm like, okay, that's probably the coldest place, and obviously not on the planet, but in the United States, if you're plugging in he said, yeah, they do that in Montana too. You have to plug in your car, and it keeps the circulation or something of the fluid in the engine block moving so it doesn't freeze.
Two things on Manzardo real quick. He's already 7th all-time in Major League history for home runs by players from the state of Idaho.
That's great.
He will very quickly move into 3rd place.
He'll never pass Killebrew, though.
He has to have
over
more than 574 to pass Killebrew.
Yeah.
Vance Law is 2nd with 71, so certainly
He'll
attainable.
get
If he
that.
passes Killebrew, it's the greatest trade in the history.
Can you name...
Proving once
other thing
again
on
I know
Manzardo-
nothing about baseball.
Other thing on Manzardo real quick. He has 6 homers. That's tied for 11th in Major League Baseball.
Okay.
Can you guess just some of the names also tied with Kyle Manzardo with 6 home runs
I think
this
Judge
year?
hit his 7th already, right?
Judge hit his
Judge is
7th,
above
so
him.
Judge is ahead of
Soderstrom's
him.
above him.
Yeah.
Who's got 6?
Boy,
Yeah, just some pretty big names. It's the only reason I'm asking.
Brent Rooker. He's
Correct.
right around 6.
yeah, he does have
6.
6. I just looked at this.
Otani, 6.
Okay.
Kyle Tucker, 6.
Tucker's a 6. Where's Harper? Bryce Harper's like 3 or 4, isn't he?
He is 5.
Yeah, I don't
He's one
think
below.
But he's in some pretty good pretty good company.
Yeah.
It gets better. Pete Alonso, home run derby champion
that's crazy.
multiple times. The
You guys
full
see
list. I'll read you the
home
full
run
list
Frankie
real
hit?
quick.
Was it Saturday
Wilmer
night?
Flores.
The walk off.
Yeah.
Eugenio Suarez, Carson Kelly, Kyle Tucker, Trent Grisham, Cedric Mullins, Pete Alonso, Shohei Ohtani, Brent Rooker, Jazz Chisholm, Siaki Suzuki, Matt Mervis, and Kyle Manzardo are your 13 players in Major League Baseball with 6 home runs this year.
I remember Zach telling me, Zach Meisel, when they made the trade. 'Cause Zach and I were on board. We were in the same spot. Like,
Yeah.
you make the trade. This team is. You have to be realistic about where you are. You have to think about the future. And he said he talked to someone in Tampa who said at the time, this one's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But when you're Tampa, like Tampa is so good and their farm system is so deep, they can make that move knowing this is going to cost us in the end, but we
we've
need a
got more
pitcher.
of him.
We got more of him, and
Yeah.
we need a pitcher right now.
Yeah, and they did.
So would you ask them now, would they regret the trade? Probably. But there's 4 more Kyle Manzardos right now in Tampa's minor leagues who are never going to play for the Rays. There was a really interesting piece we had in The Athletic ranking franchises.
Really?
What?
They've got 4 guys
Oh, yeah.
as good as him that will not play for them?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
my God.
Yeah. I mean,
Because the Guardians don't.
Trey, who's the first baseman right now? Trey something or other. He just came off the IL in AAA. He'll be another Kyle Manzardo,
Jeez.
and he'll probably never play for the Rays. And because they only the piece we had in The Athletic that I read was really good because it said Tampa and Cleveland both they marry humanity with analysis and analytics.
Which I love.
Yeah, and
I love that.
I think you're seeing that with Tristan McKenzie. Why Tristan McKenzie is still here.
Yep.
It's the humanity of the point that he's been with this organization for 10 years now,
Yep.
or close to it, and they're not ready to cut loose and give up on him, which they would have to. But the point was Tampa identifies early on who their guys are that can carry through the system and make it, and then everyone else is trade bait, and they send out.
That's fascinating.
And
that's the proper way to use analytics, by the way.
And when Tampa calls you, they said dealing with Tampa, when Tampa identifies in your system who they want, and they don't move off it. Like they call you and say,
There's no bartering.
Yeah, there is no bartering.
Yeah.
It's not, we want this guy.
Well, we're kind of like that,
no,
too,
we'll
aren't we?
offer you this guy. They say, no, it's this guy or nothing.
Wow.
So it's just really interesting. I can't remember who wrote it. It was a few days ago. And Cleveland and Tampa, where I think Cleveland was 4th on the list, and Tampa was 1 or 2.
Yeah.
LA was 1. The Dodgers were number 1. I think Tampa was 2 or 3, and Cleveland was 4.
Yeah.
And the similarities in how Cleveland and Tampa operate their just the
They
franchise.
draft character. They keep character.
Yeah, and just
And
the
they'll keep
humanity.
character longer, even if
It's a business. It can be a cold business, but there's just more of a human touch with how Tampa operates in Cleveland.
I know we have to move off this. I have to ask you this quickly because I'm sure you have some kind of insight on it. What's the next move for Tristan?
Man, I don't know. I wish I could tell you.
There's a part of me that wishes he would shut it down and get Tommy John.
I'm with you.
I just wish he would. So then now I know that moves the ball down 18 months, and you lose this year, you lose all of next year.
To me, it's his only shot at saving his career.
That's what I think too, Jay. I just think what I'm seeing from him now,
Yeah.
it's he's going to be out of baseball.
We
if he
talked
does
about
it.
this last week. I don't think you were on. I went back and looked at the story that Zach Meisel and I wrote, and I think Zach and I actually disagree on this part of it. We dug pretty deep on the medicals of a tear and what all, and basically I was told it impacts you in 3 areas: velocity, pain, and command. And if guys only have 2 of the 3, sometimes they try and pitch through it. So if you still have velo and you're in pain, if you're not in pain, but if you still have velo in location, you'll try and pitch through it.
Right.
But to me, he's not in pain. The velo is better than it's ever been.
It's back.
It's a command issue for me
Yeah.
with him. That he, the sequence in Baltimore when the one sailed to the backstop,
God, I know.
and the second one he spiked, and then the third one landed on Utah Street.
Yeah.
Tells me all I need to know that it's a command thing with him. So that's a telltale sign to me, based on the research that we did on this. When you have the tear,
It's not right.
You can't
The
always
elbow is
locate.
not right.
Yeah,
It
so,
isn't. And I know he's put it off, and he's put it
and
off.
he's such a good dude.
I love him.
Like I texted Zach during the Baltimore game. It was like there's a lot of sorrow in those eyes. You could see it on his face on the mound of how lost he is right now. And
You know
it
why?
sucks.
Because when he was in his groove, I remember having a conversation with him 2 years ago, spring training. I was talking about the Guardians have 3 of the top 5 for the AL Cy Young odds coming into the season. He was among them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that whole segment on how he was about to be a breakout guy.
He lit up. He lit up. He was just, his demeanor. He was such a happy human being.
He is an easy guy to root for.
Crushes my heart to watch his body language, to see the joy is completely out of his game. However, I told a buddy of mine this after the bad sequence in Baltimore. I said, I don't know what's next. I hope it's surgery. I hope the Guardians stay with him. You don't really predict this because you don't know how guys are going to come out of Tommy John on the other side. But I said, there's something deep in my heart that tells me that 3 to 4 years from now, he's going to be this unbelievable story of a guy who had it, lost it, was on the brink of being out of baseball, and he made it back. I bet on guys like him.
I hope for your sake you're right. For his
too.
sake you're right, because he's such a good dude. And
I think he's such a good guy. I think
for.
the Guardians would find something in the organization.
Oh, for
for him.
sure.
He's
For
the
sure.
kind of guy that you would love to put, whether it's a scout
Yeah.
or it's a coach in the minor leagues
Yeah.
or a pitching coach.
Yeah.
He's just the kind of guy that every organization needs.
Regardless of where he is, hopefully he's pitching for the next 10 or 12 years.
I
but
hope so.
whenever he hangs it up,
I hope so.
I think he's the type of guy that they would find a spot in the organization for him,
Yeah.
for sure.
Great human being.